Welcome everyone to a new episode on the Optimize Yourself podcast. Today we have a leading advocator in the field of pharmacy, Danielle. Danielle, please introduce yourself. I think you're muted.
Yes. Hello. I had a couple of different buttons open. My name is Danielle. I am the Chief Pharmacist Officer at the Canadian Pharmacists Association. It is an absolute pleasure to be here today to chat with you, and thank you for the invitation.
Amazing. So let's start from the traditional question I typically ask every pharmacist, which is what was the main inspiration behind the decision to pursue a career in pharmacy?
Pharmacy is actually my second career. I started my education in the pharmaceutical chemistry world, and I have always loved science. I've also always loved people. And so, what's interesting is I started my journey with a pharmaceutical chemistry degree. I found a really wonderful position with a global pharmaceutical company when I graduated and was well on my way in my career working in a lab, enjoying it. It really spoke to the analytical side of my brain, and it was wonderful. And probably a few years into my career, I started to feel that itch to grow, to evolve. And I also recognize that I'm a people person. I wanted to be able to um, have a direct connection to the people that were benefiting from the medicine. There's one thing to create the medicine, and then another thing to be able to deliver the medicine to people and help support them and um, provide them with education and resources along their healthcare journey. And so I made the bold decision to go back to school and earn another degree, my pharmacy degree, and become a healthcare provider. And I think what sparked this is that desire to continuously challenge myself, to grow, to evolve. Knowledge is power. And so the more knowledge you have and the more insight you have to share, the more value and the greater the impact you can have. And so that sort of fueled it. Pharmacy seemed like a very natural fit, and a it would build on the foundational knowledge I already had from the manufacturing side. So that's sort of how I got into pharmacy. And I will say that my passion for the profession came from going through the pharmacy education. I actually don't think I fully understood what a pharmacist knew and what a pharmacist did until I started to learn how to become a pharmacist. And it was mind blowing because I realized that there are these bright, knowledgeable healthcare resources all over our country, and nobody really knows about them. And so organically became part of my mission to help people realize how valuable pharmacists are and how they could support you in your health. You just have to, they're just, in your neighborhoods already there, ready and waiting. And yeah, and so that's where I would say my natural advocacy came from because I wanted to share this discovery I had with anyone I could meet. And so my family, it started out with my family when I would talk about all the cool things I was learning and how I could apply this knowledge in so many different ways. And then it just evolved, and it's never left me. I've been a pharmacist for over a decade now, and I would say my passion has just continued to grow and develop in all my different roles. And now in the role that I'm in, it's just such a beautiful culmination of my experiences and my passions coming together, and a privilege really to be able to share um, my energy and enthusiasm about the profession of pharmacy with the country and internationally.
Oh, that's an amazing story how you discovered your passion for pharmacy. So I'm wondering if there is a specific sector of pharmacy you were interested in initially and like you wanted to explore during pharmacy school.
It's a great question. having come from the pharmaceutical world, I knew that, I understood that. My my education the second time around, I took a different approach. So I was very much motivated to understand the different potential applications of a pharmacy education. And I got to do that through the co op and the experiential learning aspect of my degree at the University of Waterloo. It was phenomenal. I very strategically selected opportunities that would introduce me to a different part of the industry. So, um, I got exposure to independent community pharmacy on the West Coast in BC for my first co op term. I got to work in a hospital setting, inpatient pharmacy. I got to shadow pharmacists at different departments within the hospital. I then did a co op where I did research in the geriatric space. I also got to work at the Canadian Pharmacists Association, which is where I would say I picked up my advocacy bug officially, although I had the makings of an advocate from the very beginning. And then I also worked in technology and explored this entrepreneurship through the program where I got to imagine creating a business and solving a healthcare problem. And so there were so many different facets of my education that I was able to get exposure to and test out and play around with to see what felt right, what felt good, what I enjoyed. And what I realized is that there were so many incredible avenues to pursue in pharmacy, and I couldn't pick one. I thought I would find the one, and what I discovered was that it didn't really matter. I think what it came down to for me was being able to be part of a team that was doing meaningful work that I believed in, that aligned with my values, and that was a healthy uh, environment or coming together of individuals with unique strengths that were collectively working towards a common goal or mission. And so, really, if you think about that being my goal or what I was looking for, it could apply to all of those settings. And so, what I've noticed in my career and the way that I've navigated the opportunities that have been presented to me is I've had that lens of how can I be of value here? Will this be beneficial for me to have as I continue to grow as a person and as a professional? And can I gain knowledge from this experience? Will it help build on the foundation I've created? And how can I be of service to the organization and the people who are benefiting from the work that's being done in that company or with that team? And so I wouldn't say that there was one necessarily. I have yet to go back to what was my intention was to essentially go back into the pharmaceutical industry. But it's not to say that that's not where I could end up in the future, but I see my career as very dynamic and an adventure, a choose your own adventure, and every chapter, every opportunity I'd have. I want it to be impactful and meaningful and fulfilling. And I truly believe that every pharmacist out there, every pharmacy professional, I don't want to limit it just to pharmacists, pharmacy technicians, anybody truly within the pharmacy world has the potential to build a career that lights them up and that allows them to feel good about what they do and live out their purpose in a way that also um, helps support their lifestyle and is they're getting fairly compensated and recognized for their contributions.
Fantastic. So, given your current role at the Canadian Pharmacists Association, how would you describe your diverse experience in different domains of pharmacy? How would you say did it enrich your leadership expertise and your passion for becoming an advocator?
Oh, it's a really great question. every experience is a building block. Every um, good and bad, it adds a layer of depth and dimension to the lens that you bring. And so, in the role that I'm in now, my diverse portfolio of experiences has been incredibly valuable, because I represent the voice of pharmacists in Canada at many tables, which is a huge ask. There's over 45,000 pharmacists. And so, in order to do that authentically, I have to be able to um, speak to pharmacists, not just in community settings or hospital settings, but in research and education and industry. And I've had the fortune, it's sort of happened organically to be able to do that authentically because I've held positions in these different areas and I've viewed the industry through these lenses firsthand. And so it's been wonderful. I think about my evolution as a leader. I've had the privilege to have some phenomenal leaders and mentors along the way. I've been able to pick up qualities and attributes that I've admired. And I mean, sometimes it's also valuable to see examples of leadership you don't want to emulate. And some of those uncomfortable or less than desirable experiences have been incredibly rich with learning opportunities and lessons and an opportunity for me to reflect and strengthen my own journey of self-discovery. The truth is, I have really been intentional in maintaining my authenticity and showing up as myself because it's one thing to have a seat at the table. It's another thing to be able to sit at the table and be yourself. And that is truly success. And so it's hard. Some of these settings can be very intimidating. You can get caught up in trying to present yourself in a way that you think others are expecting because there's a standard way of doing things. But if we're trying to be the change we wish to see, if we're trying to celebrate diverse perspectives and uh, creating safe places for people to feel comfortable sharing their experiences and their perspective, even if it doesn't align with others at the table. I think it's important that we take bold steps to set that bar. And so that's what I've been trying to do in this role because it's a privilege to have this platform and to be in the capacity to uh, speak as a woman, as a pharmacist, as a person of color. And so being able to do all of that in my own voice and in my own way has been part of my growth and evolution as a leader. But I think that in doing it and the courage it's taken to do it is giving permission for others to do the same. And quite frankly, I think that it's been um, it's been uncomfortable at times, but also empowering at times in the same way. I want the people that knew me 20 years ago to see me now and think, wow, yeah, that's Danielle. That's the person I know. She is the same person. And I haven't lost or got caught up in some of the things that some of the traps that might be easy to fall into.
Awesome. So, as a chief pharmacist officer, I'm wondering what are some key priorities that we have for advancing the pharmacy profession in Canada?
Well, the Canadian Pharmacists Association, we've got a big mission. So, our mission is to be the national voice of pharmacists and for all of pharmacy. And our vision is a thriving profession and a healthy population. That's a really tall order. But what's really important for us, I would say, as a foundational step, is to help inform conversations with facts so that discussions around the role of pharmacists, the place of pharmacy and pharmacy professionals within healthcare is understood, and that we're grounded in that same common understanding of who we are and what we have to offer healthcare. So it's about pharmacists representing the voice of pharmacists and making sure that we are at the tables where healthcare decisions are being made, and that we have a we have vehicles and avenues to contribute to discussions and influence decisions that are being made that directly impact us. So, CPhA has been working on realizing a harmonized scope of practice. We believe very strongly that where a patient lives should not dictate the type of care that they're able to receive from their pharmacist. And so, over the years, we've looked for tactics and strategies and ways to tell our story and to focus on the issues at hand and highlight where the gaps are. And so most recently, we've shifted a bit of our focus into or onto raising awareness about the education of pharmacists. So the new standard for entry to practice in Canada is the PharmD. And so through our discussions, through our research, it's very evident that there's a significant lack of understanding about what pharmacists know. And so we want to be able to inspire confidence in our competence, not just with patients and with our interprofessional colleagues and decision makers, but among the profession itself. Like we want pharmacists to be proud of who we are and to get the recognition that we deserve. And really our intention is to help governments understand that pharmacists are being held back and we're being restricted, and we've got this incredible education and this wealth of knowledge, and we have patients who need it, and because of these arbitrary restrictions and barriers, we're not able to deliver patient care in the way that we're capable of.
That's amazing. And you actually have been recently nominated and you actually won the Canada's Most Powerful Woman Award. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So, I was wondering, like, what does this award mean to you specifically, and how do you think it has influenced your work?
Oh my goodness. I think what's most important to me about this particular award, first of all, I'm so incredibly humbled and honored to be nominated and to have so much support from leaders within the industry and my colleagues. Just the nomination in itself is a win, but to actually be recognized with this accolade has been wonderful because I get to represent the profession of pharmacy at this level and in this way. I'm pretty sure I was the only pharmacist on this list in 2024. And so I would love to be able to increase the representation of pharmacists being viewed and seen in this way. And I think what's special about this particular award is it's never really been about me. It's more, I'm actually quite uncomfortable with the level of exposure and attention. And don't get me wrong, I love the achievement. I love being able to have it on my resume, but it's the exposure. I'm still sort of working through it. Not many people may know this about me, but before I stepped into this role, I was a very private person. I'm still a very private person, and so this particular role has challenged me to get outside my comfort zone and gain exposure in a way that makes me quite vulnerable to people's opinions and judgments. And when you put yourself out there, you take everything that comes with that level of attention. And so that being said, I'm doing it in service to others because I recognize that I represent somebody else's possibility. Because when people see me and they know me and they have a connection to me, they're able to see what's possible for them, because there's nothing really special about me. I'm just like you, and I want people to know and relate to me in a way that's um, accessible. And so that I sort of see this award as a way to show other young pharmacists what's possible for them, and know that you can also achieve success and um, contribute meaningfully to this, to your communities, to your province, to your country. And it's exciting. It's really exciting. So it's an honor that I am incredibly proud of, but I'm more motivated to continue to see other pharmacy professionals recognized, young, ambitious leaders within our fields, to continue to strive for excellence.
Awesome. So, Danielle, I'm pretty sure you are pretty much involved in the field of pharmacy. You have a packed schedule on a daily basis. So, how do you balance your professional responsibilities with your personal life and well-being?
You know, I've grown and evolved as a person over the years. My perspective has changed. When I was younger, it was hustle and grind and say yes to everything because every opportunity was a way to grow and to gain knowledge and power and strengthen your value to the groups and teams and organizations which you belong to. I would say that this concept of balance has shifted for me. I actually prefer to use the word harmony because balance makes it, first of all, it sounds static and it gives that false belief that the goal is equality between the different facets of your life, and that's just not a realistic target. And so the reality is life is very dynamic and constantly requires a level of um, conscious choices and deliberate decisions and sacrifices. And so, I when I make decisions now, I think about um, what would I love? What would I enjoy today? And it changes based on the day. There's also what I would love, but then there's also my responsibilities and being very strategic about where I put my time and effort and energy and where I show up and the importance and the consequences of being able to be present in those moments, in those meetings, or with my family and celebrating milestones. And so it's a constant challenge, I would say. And I give myself a lot of grace to recognize that the decisions I make today are based on how I feel in this moment, how well rested I am, how clear my mind is. Um, all of those well-being indicators probably influence my decisions, and so being able to uh, realize that life is complicated, you're going to get curveballs. Time management requires a form of prioritization, and it gets a little bit tricky when you truly love what you do and you're very passionate about what you do. So that's my constant struggle, is I think everything is important and I want to be there for everyone and bring my energy and my passion and my insight and wisdom to conversations. But setting boundaries is an important part of that. So yeah, I've been very intentional, more so now than ever before in my career, and being able to recognize when to say no, because when you say yes to everything, it can be overwhelming and it can lead to burnout, and that's not going to be helpful for anyone, right? So yeah, protecting my energy, protecting my time. And that being said, by doing that, I'm able to be present, fully present. So fully present for this interview, fully present for my children when I am with them. And so by breaking it out and making sure that everything that I'm doing intentionally, and I'm I'm there in that moment, allows me to give. Um, but then also when I shut off and I'm present with whoever I'm with. I try to be present with them.
I agree, that's an excellent strategy, and that's something which I have heard repeatedly from many successful professionals like yourself. So this actually brings us to the last question. What do you envision as the next step in your professional development and career as a whole?
Oh my goodness. I've been paying a lot of attention to um, my intuition and knowing when, like, what opportunities I should pursue and not. I continue again. It's tricky because the role I'm in is so unique and so special, but it's also given me insight into the aspects of the profession that I love and that light me up. I get to do so many really interesting things, and I've noticed that there are parts of the work that I do that I really, really enjoy. And so when I think about the future and I think about um, where I go and what I do from here, it's really about honing in on the things that light me up and that I'm naturally good at and that allow me to leverage my strengths. But then to continue to be an advocate, that's not going anywhere. So whether or not I'm in this role or wherever I go, I'm going to be an advocate for the profession, and I'm going to do whatever I can to add value and represent pharmacists and pharmacy in a way that showcases the best we have to offer, but then also to make sure that we all recognize our agency to influence things when they're not going the way we want. So, I talked a lot about the profession in our scope of practice and our education and our ability to provide services across the country in the same way. But there's also a way for us to do that for ourselves and to think about where the like how do we do it sustainably and how do we do it in a way that is in service to our well-being and facilitates collaboration and teamwork and integration within the healthcare system so that we are all in it together. And it sounds so cliche, but I truly feel that there's a way to do that. And so all of this to say, my career continues to evolve and grow. And I mean, my practice is an area that I'd love to reconnect with in a more formalized way and not necessarily once a week for a few hours. But yeah, I miss patient care. I miss it a lot. I do it regularly, but not consistently and in a way where I can say that this is a part of my at like every day. So there's probably elements of that I'd explore in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle, for such an inspiring and informative episode. It was such a pleasure having you as a guest speaker.
Well, thank you again for inviting me, and I wish you the best in your career. I think this podcast, the ability to share stories, is so valuable. So thank you for your contributions and your leadership, and all the best in your career. And yeah, let's stay connected.
Thank you.